We are live for another exciting show with the Capital Mindset lead analyst, Trip, who's been sharing his tips. I can't even say it. It's a tongue twister, guys. Trip's tips. He's been sharing his tips with us each and every day here on the channel. I'm just so excited to be here. We got a full house today, everybody. Sorry for the lag. We were just getting a few things ready to go. London Cabby, what's up? Crypto Stacks, Real Ice Bear, Dan, good to see you. Good to see you. Happy Tuesday, guys. Happy Tuesday. 808 memes. We can always count on you. James in the house, another one of our OG regulars. And yeah, it's things are heating up, guys. Things are heating up. Party time indeed. I've got some interesting things to share with you today, including another clip from Tom Lee, esteemed investor and macroeconomist Tom Lee, who is saying some pretty crazy things, seemingly, as to where we're at now in the market. Where we could be headed now in August is all of the crypto Twitter is a little bit bearish again. And August is going to be the worst month because it's typically sell in May and go away. We discussed this on yesterday's episode. And now I've got more to share with you. Graham, what's up in the house? Wow. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's going to be an interesting one today. Indeed, we're going to go over several topics, but one of those is this video with Tom Lee, who's on the news saying that he believes that this August is not going to be potentially what everybody believes it to be, which would be a disastrous month, sell in May and go away. We've also been covering this extensively in the group in real time, tons of Bitcoin charts. Trip has been sharing some amazing things, maps, so to speak, as to where Bitcoin might go now and where it could head next. And the spoiler alert is that it's not what everybody is saying on X. And yeah, I think, again, the motto on this show is to tune out the noise and focus on the signal and what is actually happening. And if you do that, you'll see that what is ahead in this market and on the macro political scale is astounding. And where we're at is really, really, really interesting. And we're at an inflection point, right? So Glenn, hey, welcome. We're going to be going over those topics today. So first up, how the SEC's crypto plan will change Wall Street forever. That is huge news. Along with, can Litecoin still be the silver to Bitcoin's gold? A lot of people have been saying Litecoin's going to die for years now, but actually we have news on Litecoin and just why it might make a pretty big rally this cycle. So apart from that, we're going to be covering Litecoin, the chart, super, and we're going to compare Litecoin to Cardano to see which one could potentially be popping first. So we'll be covering Litecoin today, Cardano tomorrow, just so you guys know what's up in store. And for all of you who saw that British Coinbase commercial yesterday, if you're British, let us know what you think. We got some mixed reviews. Some British people said, yeah, it was cringe. Good thing it wasn't aired. And other people said, I can totally identify with this. This is amazing. And the government is threatened by it, right? And that's why they don't want to air it, because they don't want people to think that life isn't as it should be in the UK and that all is well and keep calm and carry on, right? Isn't that what the phrase is? But anyway, yeah, so I'm going to jump right into it. So we understand what is at hand, because there's a lot. DGen Brian says, loved it. Okay, you're from the UK, so you liked it. I liked it. I just thought maybe me as an American, I'm just a little bit more sensational. I don't know, but I thought it was brilliant, and I thought it was a really great, subtle way to point out, you know, the issues at hand in the current society and what needs to be fixed, which we're going to be discussing today in the show. We have some things that are groundbreaking that have never happened before. We're going to start with Bernstein saying the SEC's Project Crypto could rewrite the rules of Wall Street. For so long, we've had to use the Howey test, which is a test designed to see if an asset is a security or not. And it is 70 years old. Okay. And that is what we were basing our framework on. Absolutely not. This is a paradigm shift. This is completely different than anything we've ever known. And the current chair of the SEC is saying, no, that's out the window. We're establishing a new framework that will change these rules forever. Wow, we are getting some big wins. We also have President Trump coming out and saying he will sign an executive order threatening penalties for crypto debanking. That is massive. Do you know how many people have been debanked in this anti-crypto crusade of Gary Gensler's reign of terror? And how many people have had problems and have had to turn to like private bankers and weird things just to be able to function and to work and to build in this space? It is long overdue. And honestly, again, the signal, Trump's signal, there's a lot of things going on in the background. He's sending the submarines over to Russia saying that we're ready for the nukes. I mean, stuff that you would think, wow, this has got to unravel the whole market and the whole world is to be shaken up. But this is all noise. This is all noise at the end of the day. Hopefully, I mean, we never know for sure, but this is all noise as far as we can tell right now, and that we should just really focus on what's at hand, which is there's an 80% chance that the Federal Reserve, according to, I believe, with Poly Markets and some other prediction markets, that the Fed will cut rates in September, right? So we've got that on the table. We've got Trump pushing for debanking being illegal for crypto people and crypto companies. And now we've got a new regulation coming out, a new securities test, a new whole framework for crypto from the head of the SEC. What could be more bullish? Well, I'll tell you, it's PayPal working with Coinbase to allow the on-ramping of Canadian citizens. So we are onboarding more and more people around the world as we speak. So as everybody's paying attention to the noise in the corner, the signal is that we are gearing up for a very, very powerful bull run here indeed. And, the altcoins, there's so much news on the altcoins, I can barely contain the bullishness I feel inside on a fundamental level. Now, we will look at the charts with Trip to see how that lines up. But wow, the first piece of news being that there is now going to be a treasury for Litecoin, just as there is for Ethereum, just as there could be for Cardano. I mean, companies are racing to start these sort of like MicroStrategy-esque implementations to stack these different altcoins, right? So this is insanely bullish, you guys. I'm going to share my screen with you for a minute just so I can show you what is happening, because it's actually really astounding. So I want you to have a look at this now. I'm going to share my screen. Right. So first up, Me Pharma raises $100 million to launch a Litecoin treasury strategy, becoming the first publicly traded company to hold Litecoin. So for everybody who's fading Litecoin, well, I got news for you. It doesn't seem like Litecoin is going to go anywhere, and that these companies are acting quickly to start stacking all of these different sort of blue chips, so to speak, to have them in the treasury. So let me know in the chat what you think about Litecoin, what you think about the Ethereum treasury being formed by Tom Lee, about Solana treasuries. What do you think about these different altcoin treasuries? But it does say a lot. I mean, how can people possibly say that we're not going to have an altcoin season and that alts are just going to die entirely? I mean, this is the kind of rhetoric I hear around, and this is why, like, if you're a newcomer, it's going to completely affect your investment strategy and your thoughts about this market, right? So this is insanely bullish. I'm going to go over some other parts of the news today as well. So we have here ETH reclaims 3,700. Justin, 1.1 trillion added to the U.S. stock market. So this is yesterday's news, but we're coming into here. $3 trillion. Goldman Sachs expects the Federal Reserve to begin cutting interest rates in September. So that's what I was telling you guys. There is a high percentage that we get those interest rate cuts in September, and markets are forward looking and they do tend to price this news in. So will we see a little bit of turmoil short term before we head into this sort of period where markets start to go back on the rise again as we come back into September, as people come back to work, and as these rate cuts are on the table? So let's continue. Here's the Coinbase announcement with PayPal is absolutely massive, allowing Canadian users to buy and sell crypto. And yeah, I'm going to play for you now the one video that I think will help you sort of understand what's at stake here as far as like the macro sphere. This is about Trump signing that executive order, which is also massive, by the way. Really, really cool. And I'm good on him, guys. That's all I can say. Good on him. Whether you love him or hate him, that is an amazing thing to do. This is the SEC report. And I actually had ChatGPT just sort of analyze this, but it says the winds of change are blowing. Concluding his speech on July 31st, Atkins said, "From the leaves of a buttonwood tree to ledgers on a blockchain." Oh, this guy's poetic, huh? "The winds of innovation still blow, and it is our task that they carry American leadership forward. After all, ladies and gentlemen, we have never been content to follow. We will not watch from the sidelines. We will lead, we will build, and we will ensure that the next chapter of financial innovation is written right here in America." Whoa, that just gave me the chills. I don't know about you guys, but can you imagine the head of our SEC writing a poem like that? I mean, that's absolutely insane, right? So I'm going to just show you what ChatGPT said in a summary about that in a minute. But first off, I want to shout out some of the people in the chat because I'm so excited to be here with you guys each and every single day. Best rats in town, says DJ and Brian about the UK commercial. Bring on the cuts. That's right, Dan. The treasuries could crash the market next year. Well, forward looking, it's hard to say what is going to happen long term. We have to see what the Fed does in the short term and how that lines up. But the charts are telling a little bit of a different story, at least in crypto. Love LTC, fastest and the safest. Okay, we've got a Litecoin fan in the audience. Litecoin has been really polemic. I mean, people really either seem to think it's a dino coin and dying forever. They absolutely love it. I was on a panel for Litecoin in Bitcoin Vegas, and their ecosystem is actually really cool. So I have to say they are doing a lot of building and new projects there. The midnight claim link is up. Yes, I was going to get to that, Brian. I do have the details on that. I don't know exactly how much it's worth in total, but I have the details that I'm going to share with you now as well. Need XRP clarity. Want a treasury for it. Yeah, I mean, that would be massive, right? XRP. I was just telling one of my friends today that is one of the ones with the most institutional backing, with the strongest team. I mean, how could we possibly be bearish on altcoins like that? At least for the near term, right? So I want to give you a quick summary about that project crypto. So basically it marks a dramatic pivot for US regulatory policy, transforming outdated securities frameworks to enable on-chain capital markets, standardized custody, and efficient tokenization infrastructure, positioning America to lead globally in the next generation of finance. So there's all these adaptations about infrastructure, rails, custody, objectives and strategic goals as to how we're going to position this to make this friendly. To make the regulations sensible, but not stifle that innovation. This is what we've been waiting for as an industry, right? This is exactly what we need in order to scale. MediaMott says Litecoin will be the people's Bitcoin. What do you guys think? Do you agree with MediaMott? Do we have some sort of healthy debate going on here? Why do you think that, MediaMott? I'd love to hear your opinion on that. Clearly, this company that made this massive investment is of similar opinion. May Pharma, I'm not sure how to say it, if they're going to launch $100 million treasury, Litecoin treasury. I mean, that's massive, right? They must know something. There must be something going on with Litecoin. So that's really interesting. So next up, midnight details here. These are the details as far as how many eligible addresses there are for each of these assets, which are eligible to receive this midnight airdrop claim. I don't have the exact details on the types of wallets yet that you can claim with or where the airdrop was sent. I think if somebody can drop in the comments where you can see the eligibility of the addresses and the wallets, that'd be great. But these are how many wallets are eligible. And then this is basically a breakdown of the total that they would receive, right? For each asset divided among these addresses. So so that's just a little bit of that. If you want to do the math or you want to go ahead and screenshot this, have a look at this, go back. I was not able to do that before the stream today, but maybe I'll have that data all set for you guys tomorrow. And last but not least, we are going to go over the end of this video here, where Tom Lee gives his prediction for Ethereum at the end of this month. And needless to say, everybody who's extremely bearish now might be a little bit regretful later if you sold in May and went away and just completely ignore this month. So let's have a listen at what he has to say.
Dual mandate.
I'm going to go to the end.
That are tariff driven, it's been only mild. But also, if you use the same inflation measure Europe uses, which is inflation X housing, we're actually under 2%. The Fed, if they were the ECB, would be cutting right now.
That's interesting. So by the end of the year, or what target are you using now, and what time frame?
I think we're going to rally pretty strongly in August. So I think we can get back to 65 or get to 6,600 all-time highs in the next couple weeks.
And then 7,000 in the next 12 months, above that?
Yeah, probably well above that.
Well above that.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys heard it from Tom Lee, who doesn't typically make sensational predictions, right? He has this historically been semi-accurate about a lot of the things that he said. So it's interesting that he thinks that we're going to completely recover this month and go back to all-time highs, 7,000 by end of year. So things could accelerate rapidly, and that's why it's important to be laser focused on these markets so we can achieve what we all want to achieve, which is financial freedom, right? And to just be a part of this movement together. So I'm going to bring up Trip now to start going over charts with you guys, the juice of the episode. But again, I want to remind you that if you do want to become a member, the link is in the description below, and you get a 10% off for being part of the crypto making community. So do check that out, guys, and smash the like button, share it with as many people as you can so we can reach as many people as we can with the proper message, which is pay attention to the signal, right? And we're all about signal on this channel. What's up, Almanim? Welcome to the show. We're doing great. We're pumped on this Tuesday. We're ready to look at charts with Trip And Gary, what's up from Myrtle Beach? Nice to have you on. Yeah, you can go back and listen to the beginning, but we're just about to jump into the charts. So without further ado, Trip, how you doing?
Hey, Megan. Thank you. I'm doing pretty good today. How are you?
Good. Yeah, good. We're excited to talk a little bit more about Litecoin. Usually it's an interesting coin, right? Like there's a lot of people that say it's dead and that it's never coming back. And then yet it seems to make these kind of like amazing runs at the beginning of every cycle. And there seems to be a lot more to it than just a dino coin that's dead, right? That a lot of people say. Especially with the launch of this treasury news and all of that stuff. So I'm excited to dig into the charts with you. We do have a request here, Traveler 88. Okay, good. This is what we need. We need your requests early on in the episode so we can try to accommodate. So for the Say chart pipeline, what's up? What's up, M team? Okay, we have a new one. Maybe the CM team, the TCM team. I like it though. I like it. Watchman, oh, loving those emojis. What's that standing for today, Watchman? What's your vibe? I want to know what vibes. I want to know how you're feeling today. Are you excited? Are you worried? Are you fearful? Don't be fearful on this channel. We're not going to be fearful. We're just going to be prepared, right? Litecoin reached $400 in 2018. You know, a lot of them. BCH is crypto silver. Okay, Rico. That's interesting. I actually do tend to agree that BCH could have a pretty big run this cycle and it might be overlooked by many. I hold BCH. That's another kind of like highly controversial coin, but we have gone over the BCH chart on the stream and in the group, of course, and maybe we will get to that today if we can. Right in the shorts. Okay, Watchman. So you're shorting right now. So yeah, okay. So that's your vibe, I guess. That's cool. That's cool. Trip, what are you thinking? What's going on today in the market?
Well, definitely got a bounce today that we were looking for. So after that initial bounce that we had a few days ago, it's common to see a double bottom forming at least. So now we're probably looking at that double bottom right now, and that could be where this bounce is starting off.
Okay, so potential double bottom for Bitcoin. That is a very bullish thing if it turns out to be that way. I know a lot of people are watching just expecting this to go lower and setting in bids for a lot lower levels. That's what usually tends to happen when we're starting to form a bottom or near forming a bottom, right?
Yeah, typically. So every time there's a bit of a pullback at all, people usually panic and they start thinking that's it. It's probably over already. But most of the times they're just bullish retests and the price continues higher.
Right, exactly. Keep calm, carry on. That's one thing we'll take from the British that they're doing very properly, right? So yeah, if this is a potential double bottom in play, we want to pay attention to that. We don't want to fade it. We don't want to be perpetually waiting on the sideline for those lower levels. But we also are controlling our risk, right? Risk management, and that's where we're at. So why don't we just dig right into the charts, Trip, if you're ready?
Yep. Oh, sorry, I have to present here. Okay.
No worries. While he's doing that, guys, let me know what you think of Litecoin. What's your dark horse? All right, to quote Digital Dave from Crazy for Cryptos. What's your underperforming underdog asset you think is going to do well this cycle? I'm curious. And how many of you hold Litecoin? That's another thing. I don't often see people say that they hold that in their long-term portfolios. Of course, we're trading it in the trading group. So yeah, I'm just curious to see what you guys think. And now I'm going to add Trip's charts up and we'll just get right into it.
Yeah, this is Bitcoin dominance again. Another update really quick. We're just looking at the big picture here first. So this is the one-day chart. We were looking at this initial double top idea that broke lower, and then we found support on that 50-week SMA right here, this red line. And we're potentially looking for this bearish retest of this level after the break lower. And we had a bit of a poke to the upside, but now it's come back down, and it looks like it's more like a bear flag potentially. So we're going to zoom into the 4-hour to see what this looks like. And this is what we're looking for to break down next for altcoins to really take off. Really, you don't want to see it just keep trending up here because then it could be another slow grind to the upside for Bitcoin dominance. So we are definitely hoping for a breakdown of this pattern, and you want to see a breakdown of the 50-week SMA still. But as it looks right now, the altcoins still are probably just waiting for this to happen, it seems like.
Right. And so when everybody asks when altcoin season, well, this is basically it, right? You want to look at these factors. You want to see confirmation below that 1 week 50 SMA. But in the meantime, there are a lot of trades to be taken. You don't have to wait for that. It's just that epic altcoin season that could start to form if that were to happen. In between, we're trading ranges. There's all kind of setups that are ready to pop in the group. And so we're just sort of on high alert and we're watching and we're trying to make the trades in the meantime. Right? If Bitcoin dominance gives us something, if they're at the right levels, a lot of them are on support levels or retesting. And so we just need to stay alert. And there's a lot of money to be made in the middle as well. We don't have to wait for that epic, massive move. to start participating. So we have those setups in the group for everybody that's been able to take advantage. Congratulations. I just want to shout out Aussie from Australia. Wow, from down under. We got an international crowd here. I absolutely love this. Won't be long before the bears are identifying as bulls. That's a pretty funny joke. I like that. I agree with you. People are very flip-floppy in this market. It's one thing to pivot if you're a trader and to understand if this is invalidated, then now we're going to be breaking bullish, right? But it's another thing to just consistently, fundamentally be a bear, despite all of the signals that that's not where we're at, right? So dips or gifts? Absolutely. Absolutely. I would agree with you there. Short, says AirSent. Okay. We got mixed opinions in this chat today. Then we have Traveler88 saying he holds Litecoin and BCH. Those are very OG coins, Traveler88. But I happen to hold Bitcoin Cash as well. I don't hold Litecoin, but I'm thinking about trading it after I've seen this setup in the group. DJ and Brian, Xborg, Swissborg, right? Looks interesting. It has a hyperliquid link up rumor. Well, I know the head of partnerships at Swissborg, if that's what Xborg is. That what Xborg is? So yeah, I can ask him about that. ADA is a buy now and a sell at $3. $3 will be a big level of confluence, as that was like the all-time high for last cycle, more or less. And peak is stupidly cheap. Okay, DJ and Brian, I've heard peak from my friend who works with them, who now I'm drawing a blank on his name, Scott. And he's talked all about peak, and peak has been all the conferences all around the world. So I think you could be onto something there. Crow is a must buy also. CRO, that is Crypto.com's coin. And yeah, so glad we got a full house today, guys. We're going to jump into this comparison first, which I think you're going to like, because we're going to show you about Bitcoin and XRP, how they've already done this move. And now we're watching to see which horse wins the race to hit that 2.0 fib level first, whether it be Litecoin or ADA.
Right, so Bitcoin on the 1 month chart on the top left here, we're just considering this a large double bottom, and if you measure that move from the top to the bottom here, you'd get a measured move up to the 2.0, which we just hit recently. And then same thing with XRP. If you did the same thing, consider this a big double bottom. You also have that same move up to the 2.0 up here at around $3. And then LTC right now, if you do the exact same thing, we're looking for a double bottom move up to about 516 for the 2.0 here. And then for ADA, another double bottom on the high time frame 1 month chart. The 2.0 here would be at about $5.59. So the question here now is that both of these coins are getting close to that resistance, and LTC looks like it's leading just a little bit so far. Potentially you can call these cup and handles. It looks the same over here for ADA. You got the cup and the handle just forming now. So it definitely looks like a race between the two is about to start commencing. I think we could see same sort of parabolic moves similar to XRP over here. Again, this is a 1 month chart, right? So this would take 30 days to build a candle like this over here for LTC or for ADA. But as far as the comparison goes, though, yeah, it does look like everything's just taking their turns, and one of these two could be next.
Yeah, okay. So interesting information. We have here, Gary says that one of the guys in his group bought 100 LTC at 89 bucks. That would have been a good price. So yeah, people are loading up on LTC. It tends to be one that people look to when the altcoins are going to start their runs. So now we're comparing it on these charts. Isn't 2.0 projection too aggressive, says Traveler 88?
I don't think so. The point is that it's just a comparison. I think that the charts could even go a lot higher than these numbers that you're seeing on the screen currently. We've talked about that with the ADA chart before, using log scale versus linear. So even though it may seem gigantic, these are still conservative targets, in my opinion.
All right. So it's just that XRP has already made this move, as has Bitcoin, and we're waiting to see what that move would look like for Litecoin and ADA. And it's just a straight up comparison chart, like Trip says. So, yeah, that makes sense. DGen Brian says Xborg is a Becker pick. Okay, got it. But nothing to do with Swissborg. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I don't remember what the Swissborg ticker even was, but thanks for that clarification. And yeah, so Xborg looks interesting as a hyperliquid. Okay, right. And everything with hyperliquid seems to be doing very well lately in that ecosystem. So you could be onto something there. Very good, very good. So let's go back to Bitcoin, guys, and see where we're at, as we need to stay updated here as Bitcoin is making its moves.
Right, so Bitcoin recently broke above this key resistance level, and now we're trying to turn it back into a support level. We're right now tested the 4-hour 200 MA and acted as local resistance, and we've come back down here to test the support level again. The number one thing you want to look for when you're on support is either a double bottom or a higher low than the previous low, or if we push lower a little bit, then you're looking for a bear trap. But those are three of the main ideas that we use in the group to confirm a bottom. So that's when we would consider an entry, at least when you see one of those three things. And right now, it looks like Bitcoin seems to be holding a little bit higher than this previous low. So we could potentially start scaling into this trade if it starts looking better on the lower time frame. So the same idea, it's just you're looking for more structure inside of this 4-hour candle when you zoom in to those lower time frame charts.
Right. Okay. So now we know where we're at for Bitcoin, guys, and let's check back in tomorrow and see what's happened. But for now, this is where we're at. Real Ice Bear made me smile here. When and where is the ATH vodka market intro event in the US? That is a very good question. But you better be there, Real Ice Bear. That's all I'm saying. We got to ship you some bottles and get you into it. So actually, our app, the All Time High Rewards app, just got approved by both Google and Apple, which has been 2 years in the making. A lot of strict contingency stuff, and we've been building throughout all the reign of the anti-crypto crusade, and now it's not that way anymore. So it's been approved. It will be live within a couple of weeks, and we have a lot of big plans for that. So token launch in October. I'll keep you guys updated, and of course, in my thoughts as a co-founder, because you've all been here since the beginning to support, as well as this channel. So much appreciated there. And yeah, we'll just keep you updated on the news, guys. But let's have a look now at Total 3 and see what's happening with the altcoins.
Okay, Total 3. We broke above this previous resistance and then tapped the resistance above that and have now pulled back to test that support to see if we get another bounce here next. So far, we got one bounce, which is looking pretty good. If we zoom into the 4-hour chart, you can see it's also trending lower with Bitcoin. So the same idea applies, is that we're looking for this low to be at least higher than this previous low, or you get a double bottom. That would be another great idea. So potentially you could draw a falling wedge here now that's starting to form. And if you don't catch the bottom, that's okay. You're probably really just looking for more of a falling wedge breakout entry at that point. So because you can't trade Total 3 directly, you would obviously be trading some altcoins in its place. But this is definitely the structure you want to pay attention to, and that bottoming idea in order to determine when it's time to trade altcoins. The best thing you want to do too is just compare this chart to the Bitcoin dominance chart. So if this was to break lower at the same time as Total 3 is breaking higher, that's probably the best case scenario for the altcoins to play out.
There you go. What to look at when you're looking for an entry and when you're trying to gauge whether or not now is the moment to jump into altcoins. These are two of the things that you can check out first if you're not in the group. And if you are in the group, we will keep you posted around the clock, right? With charts, setups, letting you know what we're looking at and what's happening with Bitcoin. So, yep, Traveler 88 says ETH runs, so everything else. I mean, that's a very basic breakdown, right? And it's, in essence, it is true in a lot of ways because a lot of the altcoins are denominated in ETH. The liquidity is in ETH. So ETH is sort of the first one that pretty much sets everything else free, right? To simplify it greatly. But yeah, I mean, that typically tends to be what happens. So, Trip, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so like Ethereum's looking good right now, but it hit resistance of the larger triangle. I think we talked about that on one of our older streams. So there's a chance that Ethereum cools down for a bit, but it also means that other altcoins that haven't taken off as much as Ethereum has, they might have a chance to make at least the initial move to start. So that's where LTC and ADA would come in. You'd want to keep an eye on those while Ethereum's slowing down. But definitely I would expect that once they cool off, it's probably going to go back into another push for Ethereum to see if it's going to break out of the large triangle that we've been watching.
Right. So that's sort of the game. The name of the game in trading is, okay, Ethereum is on everyone's radar. Tom Lee is talking about it, that it's going to hit potentially all-time highs this month in his projections and predictions. But there are possibly other coins that haven't made that big move yet that ETH has made that we could put our money into and then compound it, right? And maybe get back into ETH when it's ETH time. So that's what trading does versus long-term investing. And you can capture more of the gain of the move that hasn't happened yet. Hence the comparison chart that Trip showed to show that a lot of these, that several of these coins, well, the ones in the examples, XRP and Bitcoin, have made that big move to the 2.0 fill low, but ADA and Litecoin have not. So when you're talking compounding gains, potentially those are bigger trade opportunities. So
Right. Yeah.
right?
Just because the market caps are so big. So once you start making it most of the move, then it's just diminishing returns on the way up. So if you were to catch ETH halfway from the bounce, you don't make nearly as much, obviously, as you did if you were buying at the bottom. So Litecoin and ADA are in that bottom position still. So you can capture pretty much the same move that ETH had already if you weren't able to catch it before when ETH started pumping.
Yes, absolutely. And AirSent here says, Watchman, like I said in Discord this morning, 111 for Bitcoin. Looks like I might get that one right. All right. So we are paying attention to that Bitcoin chart. But right now we're looking at a potential double bottom. If that doesn't hold, then we will look to the other levels. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that and we'll revisit this tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, we can look at Super as well. So this is an updated setup that we had maybe a couple of weeks ago. I think actually we just did an update fairly recently, and we were looking at a cup and handle idea. And then as normal with most altcoins, when Bitcoin pulled back and dominance started bouncing, we saw most of these patterns get invalidated. Now we're looking at bigger structures. So we're paying attention to an ascending triangle on Super. And if you're not able to catch this entry down here, so we're looking for a bounce on the lower trend line. If you get that 200 MA coming into the picture at the same point as this lower trend line, then you'd have some confluence for that bounce, and that's where I would probably start scaling into this trade. You want to scale into bullish patterns when it's still making higher lows. Ascending triangles have a flat top resistance though, so it's a key recognition point of the pattern. Higher lows and a flat top. Those are safe patterns to scale into. Otherwise, you're just setting an alert at resistance and waiting for the breakout above this ascending triangle top. So alerts are really easy to set. Just right-click on it, go to Add Alert on the horizontal ray, do the price crossing up, and I usually do once per bar close and create an alert. So that way you don't miss these trades, right? You can just go crazy setting alerts, especially this time of the market. There's a bunch of setups that are ready to pop. It's really just a matter of when.
Right. No, absolutely. And I like the advice you gave on the stream a few days ago, which was that people are popping triangles up all over the place in their charts and trading techniques. But he did give some advice on what a true ascending triangle, the things you would need to look to have that be a thing. And so Super fits those objectives, right? Because a lot of people say it's an ascending triangle when Tripp has tried to explain that that's not always the case, at least not for a proper one. So
yeah. There's a lot of patterns like that. People will draw wedges and triangles in strange places where they cut through candles or something. They try to force a pattern that isn't quite there. So that's one thing you want to avoid. But as far as triangles go, just because you can draw a triangle around it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a triangle. Potentially it's something else that just fits inside of that pattern. So it's a little tricky, but over time you learn to weed these things out, right? You recognize what didn't work before, and then you find out the reason why. That's always just a discovery thing in trading.
Right. And I really like that advice because that is really powerful advice. Right. So these are tools that you can take along with you to make your trading skills improve. Aussie has a lot of fun phrases today. When in doubt, zoom out. Of course, that is the motto here on this channel. As Jerome Powell eaten Gary Gensler. Could be. I mean, it seems that now like he just passed off his reign of terror to Jerome Powell. Huh? Seems to be so. Oh, Christina's in the house. What's up, Christina? We're just going over Super. We're just about to get to the chart of the day, which is Litecoin, right? Could it be the new silver to Bitcoin's gold? Let's have a look.
Excuse me. So yeah, LTC 1 week. This is just a zoomed in view of that monthly chart that we showed at the beginning. You're really just looking for a breakout above this resistance now. We've had a couple attempts before, and we were able to pull back a little bit. So now on this attempt, it looks like it's getting stronger because you're also printing higher highs and higher lows as you go here. So every time you're doing this, it's just continuing the bullish idea. Nothing's really stopped yet. We're just waiting for that confirmation break before it really starts to move. So again, you probably want to set an alert for this level. If you don't want to set it on the 1 week, you can set your alert on like a 4-hour chart. So you just zoom in, go down to the 4-hour, and do the same thing. You would just pull up your line. Let's see where is that line? There it is. And do the same thing, set an alert that way. So if you set it on a 4-hour chart, even though it's a weekly chart pattern, you can just get a little earlier notice by setting it on a time frame that's a little lower than the chart is on. So that's one little tip too. But definitely have alerts set on some of these bigger structures. They could take some time to start moving once they break. You might need a weekly close above that level, for example, but definitely want to have an alert giving you some notice that something's happening.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You got to keep your alerts on, guys. If you don't want to babysit the charts, and if you're not in the group, at a minimum, have those alerts set so you don't miss these moves if and when they happen, right? So good. Awesome TA, says Aussie. Well, thank you. A lot of awesomeness happening here. No pun intended. But yeah, I like this trip. I like your recommendations on how to get in and the strategies involved. And everybody who's tuning into these lives is light years ahead of the average person that is trying to trade these charts. That's all I can say, because these kind of tips that Trip is giving it's not readily accessible in a lot of other channels that I've seen anyway. So guys, like, do keep tuning in, keep focusing on your goal and you're studying and investing in yourself as much as humanly possible, even if that's just time, right? Not even necessarily money, time. So practice these, watch the streams, and just have a whiteboard up there. My Samsung whiteboard is amazing. I love it. I have unlimited digital boards that I can write on with my digital pen, and it's fantastic, guys. So do what you have to do. Do whatever it takes to succeed right now, and that is setting yourself up for a lifetime of potential financial freedom. So it's worth every single cent, every single hour spent on this. That's all I can say. That's it for my rant for today. We are now on the Say chart, which was requested earlier by Traveler88, I believe. How are we looking on the Say chart?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I'm starting on the high time frame first. So this is the 3-day chart. I just want to get an idea of what the bigger structure is here. And we've also got the point of control pulled from basically the very beginning of the history of this chart, just to see where that is as well. So the point of control is acting as local support, and that's a good sign. The yellow trend line overhead is acting as resistance. So the price is basically getting pinched. You're going to see little bounces here until one of these trend lines give, or until one of these levels give, I should say. So the point of control is sitting at about looks like 27.8 cents. And then this trend line breakout, that could be a range between about 32 up to about 37 cents. After this trend line breaks, you're really just looking for a break of this previous high as well. So again, that's about 36, 37 cents is what you'd want to see break after this trend line is broken. I'm going to add the 200 MA to see if that adds any confluence to the chart. I'm going to have to modify this one just to put it on the chart time frame. So the 3-day is just overhead. We'll see what it looks like on the 2-day. 2 days also acting as a local resistance as well. So I bet you we're already above the 1-day if we were to take a look. Yep. So you got a couple ideas here where it's showing that the trend is trying to reverse. It's already flipped major support, or the major moving averages. Really, you're just looking for that confirmation break above this yellow trend line, or you could even enter again if you see a break above this the 2-day 200 MA. So you definitely have some scaled in entry ideas there. We'll look at some targets. First one looks like it's at about 70 cents, and then about 94, probably up to $1. You got some wicks up here. I would just call this $1 to round it off to the next whole number. So the measured move from here, if that trend line were to break, first resistance, you're looking at about 143%. And if you get that move to the next resistance, it's up to 226. So very decent move for SCI. It seems to move pretty well when it starts going, but it hasn't really had a bull run before. So it'd be exciting to see what it looks like when it starts breaking these resistance levels, or if it even gets there on this cycle.
Right. Yeah. And these are some this is how you should be analyzing a chart, right? When you say, okay, I want to have a look at Say or SUI or Litecoin or any kind of coin, these are the different tactics that you can pull up and techniques to say, where are we at, right? We've gone over time frames as well, starting on large time frames and zooming in, and bullish versus bearish ideas, and just not the traditional methods that people generally tell you to hear on crypto Twitter or on YouTube, but this is like Trip's deeper analysis that will help you be even more successful, right? Because I just saw a comment here from Realize Bear. Great advice on not forcing chart patterns. Guilty as charged. Hey, recognition is the first step. Need to unlearn this habit. I think a lot of us are guilty of that, right? It seems to be like the thing that's most logical and most fitting, but I would never have thought of that either if Trip didn't explain it the way he did. And that's what we're trying to do here, is just give you more enhanced tools, because you're not newbies anymore. You're part of the intermediate/advanced crowd now. And we want to make you as successful as we can and help you with your strategies. So Aussie, I love that you're energized today. I like it. I think we're early in this space. Absolutely not a second thought about that. I always talk about the S curve, the technology adoption curve, the fastest growing in history, much faster than the internet. And we are still at 3 to 4% early adoption phase. Mass adoption happens at 16%. So it's basically like a gradual curve, and then it's like straight up right? And that's how adoption happens. And it looks like it was super slow in hindsight, but you'll just miss that it actually was just very explosive because you're in the middle of it. Thoughts on a super cycle? We've actually covered that in previous live streams, but I'll sum it up very quickly for you. The traditional top would generally come in October to potentially November. So buy 6 months before the halving, sell 18 months after the halving. But we've been going over a whole lot of amazing charts that Trip has to show that a lot of confluence, different indicators that show that we might actually be going into a sort of super cycle that could extend into 2027. So we've done those episodes. I think it's called the Bitcoin Super Cycle. So if you search on the channel, you'll find it. Otherwise, you can sign up to the group and get all of the juice there, all of Trip's ideas and some of our lead admins. So do that. And then we've got a few other comments here. Andrew, what's up? Nice to have you in the house. Welcome. Looking forward to covering the midnight. Yeah, I know I should have done that today. Instead, I did the amounts claimable, but today I'm going to go and do a deep dive on claims, who's eligible, which wallets, and I will do that for you guys tomorrow. So that's on my agenda. Hello, Midas Mindset. How are you doing? DJ Brand says you have to hold $100 in June. Yeah, so the snapshot was taken in June, and the minimum was to hold $100 in the assets on this list. So Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, XRP, BNB, ADA. Sorry, we're covering it. I'm going to move us. Whoops, that's not it. Oh, my goodness. There. Okay. So BNB, ADA, AVAX, and BAT. So these are the tokens that are eligible for that drop. You had to have held $100 in each asset during the snapshot, June 11th. So if you did, you are eligible for this airdrop from midnight on the Cardano ecosystem. So that's really exciting. So yeah, stay tuned for my news on that, guys. I will do that tomorrow in tomorrow's stream. So that's my promise to you. Okay, DJ and Brian, you have to, yeah, okay, got that. Gary, what do you think of all the pundits jumping on the HBAR? The pundits jumping on the HBAR wagon, hearing insane predictions and supposedly huge partnerships. All right, what I will say about HBAR is that whatever you've heard by Bitcoin influencers, YouTube, all the people on crypto Twitter, I've actually sat down with the team and did a panel with them in Davos during the WEF, and I met their CFO. I've talked to their team, the CEO, and it is super bullish, in my opinion. What I've seen that they're doing in the institutions that they're working with. Yesterday, I said they partnered with a UK bank to bring, 10 billion in liquidity. Let me look this up real quick. HBAR UK Bank. I mean, they're making massive partnerships in the background, and there's lots to unpack there. So I'm going to release that podcast with their CFO soon that I did in Bitcoin Vegas. It's a bit of a lag in that, but yeah, here it is. UK banks to settle 10 billion in tokenized assets via Hedera. They are the layer one that's facilitating those tokenized asset exchanges, and it's huge, and they have big partnerships. So there might be a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon, but I am very bullish on this, and for having been boots on the ground and talking to the team myself and seeing what they're doing. So yeah, that's what I can say on that. Zach, what's up? How you doing? Also, Marbella Spain, like me, are you paying attention to the move down for global liquidity? Bitcoin seems to follow it, delayed by about 2 months. Yeah, I've seen that on crypto Twitter. People talking about how global liquidity had a big spike down, and therefore, could that be possible with Bitcoin? Maybe we'll go over that in a minute. So Dan, this cycle is definitely not a normal 4-year cycle. This cycle is breaking all of the rules. It's not a normal cycle for sure, for certain reasons and due to certain indicators we looked at, but it's not that it's breaking the rules, so to speak. I think it's more just like the space is evolving and changing. We now have Bitcoin ETFs, we now have institutions, we now have countries on board. And so, yeah, if by breaking the rules means sort of the game is changing, right? The game is different than when it started, for sure. And it becomes more and more scarce with time. There's so many different factors, right? Andrew's bullish on HBAR, guys. Kevin O'Leary said it on my podcast. He said it was his most undervalued crypto. HBAR retweeted it, went crazy. So there's a lot of hype going on about that too. So just be careful with a lot of the noise and the hype, but just know that I am bullish on HBAR, and I'm looking to get more when the time is right, when there's potentially some of my buy orders are hit, but I'm being patient, right? I'm not FOMOing, and it's important not to FOMO. Which bank? Let's see, which bank is it? UK, it just says UK banks to settle $10 billion. It doesn't say which ones, but I will look into that. With all the news on HBAR, how is it not moving? Because it's not the right market conditions for it right now as we're going over here in the stream. Altcoins are sort of waiting for Bitcoin to find its footing, waiting for Total 3 to also find its footing, and we haven't had the rate cuts yet by the Fed, and in general, we've got a lot going on, and we're having a pullback right now. So usually they don't take off just on their own just because of news and these kind of market conditions. But that's actually benefit for all of us because we are knowing how bullish it is and preparing for potentially buying the dip, right? So yeah, Andrew, it looks like theta. So much going on, no movement. Yeah, I know people are really frustrated by this, but this is just all altcoins in general right now, right? Or most of them anyway. Lloyd's of London signed with HBAR. Okay, thanks for the info, Gary. Yeah, wow, a lot of information to unpack today, this Tuesday. But look at all these things that we're talking about, and how could you possibly think that we're at the top of the cycle when alts are, on the bottom? A lot of them, it just doesn't make sense to me with the macroeconomic atmosphere that's happening and with the rate cuts coming. Does not make sense. So yeah. Trip, I'm going to let you get back to the charts. I know we had a big tangent there, but keep your head in the game, guys. Don't get shaken out. Tune out the noise. That's all I have to say.
Oh, I think we're pretty much covered everything. I was just writing a message to Midas here. He was saying, can you go over the idea of coming back to 111K? And that's really just this whole key support range that we've been watching. You could definitely come down to this lower trend line of this channel still. So like I said before, we're just looking for those key signals, right? When you start seeing higher lows, that's a reversal idea. If you're to get a move down here and then it pops back up and reclaims this level, that would turn this into a bear trap. That's another reversal idea. Also, if it continues lower and then you start to see bullish divergences, right? So the way it looks right now, we're just banking on the higher low idea just because it hasn't pushed lower yet. But it also doesn't mean I'm rushing to get into this trade. I just want to see more confluence, and I also don't mind scaling in. So if there is another move where we get to the upside, then I'll buy the next pullback. Or if we get a break above this channel and it pulls back, I'll just buy that pullback just the same. So I don't mind if I have to enter the trade in a few different places. That's really part of the whole strategy of scaling into the trade.
Right. And I think what Midas was referring to is like, if we spend X amount of time here, what are the probabilities of going down versus going up? And I think the point here is to think about it from another perspective. And that's to use all of the indicators that Tripp speaks about, the bullish divergence, the oversold on X amount of time frames, right? Like to look at different indicators to pair that with a potential higher low. It's not just a one size fits all. If it hasn't made a move in this time frame, then it's going to go back down to 110. It's not necessarily like that. And I think a lot of the points we make on the channel is to start using different tools and different ways to think about it. Right, Tripp? Or what would you say about that?
Yeah, I do have a comparison chart that shows a bunch of the different consolidations that Bitcoin's done. And most of the time when it has these rounded off tops and then a big dip, it's very common for it to show that same kind of double bottom idea. So it's not just an idea that we're hoping for. It almost becomes expected because Bitcoin's done it so many times during these pullbacks that it's starting to become pretty predictable. Even from the last season, from 2019 to 2021, Bitcoin had the same amount of repeating patterns that after a while I could be like, here's the pattern that it did a couple of months ago. If we overlay it over top of what's happening right now, it's almost identical. So you get these little mini maps basically of different sections of the Bitcoin price action. So a lot of the analysis that I do has to do a lot with back testing and seeing what happened in history to compare to what's happening now, because Bitcoin definitely repeats doing a lot of the same things it's done before.
Right. Yeah. And so we have a lot of those Bitcoin maps in the group to reference and to go back and to look at when you're trying to decide when to get in or what to do with your trade or investment even. So you have all of this market analysis and the different types of indicators, right? So yeah, I would say that it's a waiting game, it's patience right now, but also, like Tripp said, it's starting to become a little bit more predictable. So it's not to be slept on, right? Like you don't want to be caught also waiting for those perpetually lower prices, right? So maybe scaling in would be the best bet in that situation. Of course, it's not financial advice. It depends on what your strategy is, all that. I know that I'm taking advantage of these dips and scaling in because I believe that this is, based on the charts that we've seen and market conditions, generally a good place to be doing that. So that's what I'll say about that. Need a market catalyst like rate cut says realized bear. Yeah, exactly. I just think about that too. If we're all knowing that there's an 80% chance, and we've seen big banks and people come out and say this, then why I'm getting positioned? I'm going to act ahead of time, right? And markets are often forward looking. So even though we might have some turmoil now, what's going to happen toward those rate cut times, right? Or potential rate cut times. So these are just things to be thinking about, to be pairing with indicators, maps of Bitcoin, and things that have happened previously. Lloyd's, so DGen Brian says Lloyd's of London are who insure ships. Okay, interesting. like most ships in the world. Raw Food Writer, thoughts on holding XRP until triple digits? Wow. People say crazy targets, and I'm wondering if it should be mostly out by $20 to $30. That is a loaded question. I'll let Trip get to it as well. I just think, Dan, that it depends on your goal, but you should always be thinking about taking some profit off the table on the way up, right? That would just be my initial thought. But Trip, do you want to go ahead and take this?
Well, that's more of an investment idea, right? So if you're planning just to hold until it gets, really high up there, then that's a different idea than trying to trade a falling wedge or trade double bottoms. And I think it's just, as a trader, you can spend a lot of time holding and you might make, 10x, maybe up to 100x. But as a trader in that same amount of time, you could probably compound and double your portfolio, maybe, 5 to 10 times over. So the comparison between the two is just knowing how to trade is going to give you an edge. And it's also going to give you the same amount of profit that you'd be getting in a longer term in a much shorter amount of time, as long as you have a strict routine that you stick to. Trading isn't always predictable 100%. That rarely is. But the idea is that you're taking your high probability trades. And if you do get stopped out or you take a loss, then they're tiny in comparison. So a lot of my trades have like a 5-to-1 ratio. So I could make 5 times as much as I could, I could make 5 times as much and only lose 1 to 5 of that amount, right? So about 20%, and I could make 100% essentially. So those are the kind of ratios that you're looking at when you want to trade. It's just how often can you repeat it, and can you stay on a strict discipline to do that?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it just depends on your strategy. But you know what? Like, I also hold XRP. I'm thinking of holding a certain portion of that long term, but I am also going to take some profits during this market cycle. So I'm also a long term investor in XRP, Dan, and Raw Food Writer. And I do believe that it can hit those higher numbers. But I want to make a comment about what Dan said here. It would be a huge market cap if that were to happen. Maybe not realistic this cycle. Yeah, that's true. But I do want to highlight that it's not all about market cap. It's not as cut and dry with market cap as people may think about crypto, because that depends on a lot of different factors, right? The total value locked, and the available supply at the time, and whether or not the available supply is like far undermining what the demand is, right? So there's so many market dynamics that can be in place at that moment that don't necessarily have to do with pure market cap to make the price go up, right? It's not a direct correlation. So I just want to say that, just because that's oftentimes not as straightforward as people think it is. So Theta Investor says, hold till 4 digits. Hey, it might be, man. Amazon corrected 80% and then became the 4th most valuable company in the world. I'm going to repeat that till I'm blue in the face, right? Like, it had a lot of volatility when it first came out for the first decade, guys, and it's a stock. So we're in crypto now. We're in crypto. That's another level. Brian says, watching Bloomberg earlier, the talk in the U.S. markets was all about cuts coming in September. Okay. So then the thought is, if everybody's talking about this and they're seeing this everywhere, are they trying to fake people out now by pushing them? It's hard to analyze just based on news, right? But just keep that in the background in your mind. Like, this is what could happen, and this is what September may look like. And that's a very bullish environment for crypto. This is a liquidity race. The higher the market cap leads to generally higher liquidity, providing a flywheel effect. Right. That is an astute observation, Theta Investor. You're causing a dilemma. Thanks, guys. Okay. So let's move on here. I'm selling my XRP at around $8. Yeah, I would say I'm selling some around 5 to 6. But we'll evaluate when we get there. Then buying more Solana and staking it. Okay, you've got a plan, Brian. You got a plan. Lloyd's does a lot, especially shovel money around. I had my house insured with them, says Gary. Expensive as hell, but was bought in the middle of a hurricane. So they seem to be a very reputable bank. Am I right, guys? I don't really know a lot about Lloyd's Bank, but yeah. Wow, so much to unpack here, right, Trip? I mean, I want to go back. There was one comment that Zach made. I forgot to address that. And that was the global M2 liquidity spiking down, have a sharp spike down, and whether or not Bitcoin could potentially follow, or has it already. Do you have any thoughts on that, Trip?
I used to have a chart on that. I just can't find it at the moment. It would take me a while. I was trying to bring it up. But yeah, I think it's the data we have, it's like a 60-day delay. Maybe I could be wrong, but I think that's what it was last time I heard.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, either way, I just think that even these shorter term pullbacks could match up with what Bitcoin's been doing. I also think that Bitcoin has a chance to just take a little more time before it breaks above the previous high. So on this way up, it could take another couple of weeks to a month before it actually breaks out at the top or the previous all-time high level. So I think there's still lots of wiggle room, and those charts could start lining up better down the road.
Right. Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily direct correlation right now at this point. And there is that delay. And in the midst of that delay, will we get those rate cuts and will things change? So we'll see. But yeah, it's a 60-day lag as far as our indications were showing last time. Big D3197. I don't see a name for you, but I own ADA. So disappointed. Why are you disappointed? I don't know. I think you've got to have a little bit more patience. I mean, ADA was one of my first investments. It did a phenomenal run. We did go over this chart in the beginning of the video, so you might have missed that. I don't know what your name is, so I don't know how to refer to you, but we did do this comparison in the beginning, and we were showing where ADA could hit based on XRP and Bitcoin having already made this move just in this comparison chart. And that move, that measured move is of the double bottom is just about $5.60. So just have some patience, guys. Have some patience. Man, we've been waiting this long, right? We've been in this thing for, what is this? How long has this cycle gone on? Trust me, like, patience is key in these markets, and we always have to stay level-headed. And if you want to compound your gains more than just holding for long term, you can learn how to trade, and that's a way to be able to do it, right? So if you are disappointed and you want to compound your gains more, then you can combine the I'm going to stack it and hold it and keep that there with the I'm going to try to make as much money as possible on these in these ranges, and in between. The money is made in the middle there, right? So Dan says ADA will run. Have faith. Absolutely. We got somebody else in the house who I don't know how to pronounce your name. It's like who or ho. Welcome. They got in a lot of trouble back in the day. Are you referring to ADA? Because I think you might be referring to the fact that I did. Okay, I'm not sure what you're referring to. You got to bail out. Oh, maybe Lloyd's Bank. I see. We're still talking about Lloyd's Bank. Markets always sell off a lot in September. Will this happen this September? Well, actually, what we were talking about was that markets sell off a lot in August as well. And there's been so many influencers and crypto Twitter. You know, I tune into this every day to see what everybody's watching and looking at. That August is a red month, that it's always negative. And then there's others that say every August after the halving has been typically bullish. And in order not to get lost in all that noise, we do like to look at previous stats. But what we're looking at is what we've discussed here on this channel and these different indicators, right? Trip, so what would you say on that question? I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. I just had a sip of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I usually just focus on what the charts are saying overall. Trying to do the other kind of guesswork isn't something I can quantify on a chart. A lot of the times, too, all the noise that you hear or the news that comes out is just noise, and the charts always carry on to do what they were going to do anyways. So yeah, I really would just depend more on the charts and see what they're saying instead.
Right. Yeah. So it's been a very interesting stream. A lot of comments about ADA. We are going to go over ADA in tomorrow's stream. I am going to look up those stats on midnight for all you guys. We did have some comments on Bitcoin Cash before. Do we have time to pull that chart up to finish the stream, Trip, or shall we call it a day and do that tomorrow?
No, I can pull it up really quick.
All right. Trip is feeling generous today, guys. Let's go. Let's have a look at Bitcoin Cash because, you know, Litecoin was said to be a Dino coin, and that is having a very good setup. Let's have a look at exactly where Bitcoin Cash is and just see what we're looking at here.
Okay, so Bitcoin Cash is getting close to this resistance at the top. Now we can probably see what it's looking like for this trend line resistance. We're going to turn on the volume to see if there was much. You had some volume increase, but we've had bigger volume back here just on the run-ups and wasn't really breaking a trend line at the time. So this is a fairly low volume break. I would be a little cautious about this breakout. What I'd probably focus on next is this horizontal resistance to break. If you use just the candle bodies here, it looks like we had a little test with a wick, and that's at about $608 so far. So that's probably where you're going to want to set alert or watch for the breakout to happen. And yeah, we do have some pretty high targets. If there's a chance that it can go back to that $1,500 level, we'll just put a line up here for now and just mark the bottom. And then we'll take an idea of what the fibs look like in the middle. So let's see here. We'll do full white just to see. So the 382 is basically lining up with this resistance in this area. That's probably the key level that you're going to pay attention to. It's a little higher up, around 640. And then really I would just use fibs as your targets on the way up here, at least to the previous high at 1500. But if that level were to break, then you probably have the same kind of thing going on as Litecoin and ADA. So now you're looking at a chart with much bigger targets as far as these extensions go. And that would put Bitcoin Cash at about 2,900 at the 2.0 up here. So it's possible. I mean, this is still a very long accumulation. Kind of looks like a cup and handle with a couple handles, like whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter. It still just looks like the bottom of the Wyckoff cycle, and we're going into markup phase. And since it's on such a high time frame, this is a 3-day chart, that could be a very extended, large move coming for Bitcoin Cash.
Wow. You said one thing that I want people to stick with today, which is the bottom of the, can you repeat that last phrase that you just did? I want people to stick with this phrase and remember this as we come into this next phase of the cycle.
Oh, what did I say? Which part?
The bottom, we're heading into markup phase.
Oh, yeah. So the Wyckoff cycle. So usually it starts with an accumulation phase. You go into markup phase, you have a distribution phase as it starts to trickle down, and then you go back into that accumulation phase again. And then the whole thing just starts over. You start leaving accumulation and going back up into markup phase, and then you'll have another distribution pattern and probably have another markdown, and then back into accumulation again, way into the future. So it really just keeps doing the same thing over and over. And what we call bear markets is just the length of time it takes to finish this entire cycle. So sometimes it could be 2 or 3 years, maybe it'll be shorter, maybe it'll be longer, but really it's just based off of the accumulation and then the markup phase that comes. That's the part that everybody gets rich on.
Oh, yes. I want you guys to stick with that image as you leave this stream today. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. Trip, thank you. That is invaluable advice. We've learned a lot of different tips and strategies that we can pair with our overall analysis and thesis to be able to make it profitable and potentially have a better strategy than we would have without these tools, right? So this is just to have a different perspective on the market, guys. I hope you found it valuable, and we're really excited to be here with you today. Thank you, Real Ice Bear, for tuning in. Absolutely, everybody in the chat, you made our day. This is absolutely amazing. I love tuning in with you each and every day. And tomorrow we will be going over Cardano. I'll give you the midnight stats on the airdrop, and we're gonna have another amazing stream. So thank you all for tuning in, and thank you so much, Trip.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.